We'd like to thank former State Representative and Deputy Secretary of State Ray Rickman for giving his big view. I'd also like to welcome my next guest here into the studio, Eric Latek, filmmaker, brains behind the creative and production of The Ripple Effect. This is the DOT's campaign to raise awareness about impaired driving. GoLocal has featured numerous people who have been part of this effort, but you're really part of that linchpin that brings it all together to tell these stories.
Sure.
So talk with us about being approached with this concept of trying to let folks know about the impact of impaired driving and how it turned from concept into reality.
Sure. So Dante Bellini with the RDW group, he brought this project to my attention. Originally we had done a season before that called Beyond the Crash. So that was really through the perspective of state troopers. So then this past year, this project of The Ripple Effect came to fruition through Dante really having this vision of looking through the eyes of not just the state troopers, but also everybody else affected. So, you know, whether it's rescue, firefighters, hospitals, the families, everybody. So it was really this mission to go in and look it through the eyes of everything possible. So that just required, you know, a really difficult process of having to see some really difficult things and film and capture a lot of difficult content. So it was really brought together again by Dante and the RDW group.
And so you talk about having done Beyond the Crash, moving on to The Ripple Effect. You talk about the difficult content, but isn't that the centerpiece of really driving home to the viewer? Is it supposed to either get the gut or get the heart, really get to the core of the person about the impact of impaired driving?
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, it was kind of going through the eyes and taking it further in terms of not just being gratuitous, but to really show you the aftermath through the eyes of family members, but also going into some deep and dark places such as the medical examiners and again having to film and capture some pretty explicit content, whether it's you know, being in the freezer, stuck in a freezer full of body bags, which was probably the most difficult thing I've had to film. I mean, but then to be on the road and drive with the rescue and try to capture an incident as far as drinking and driving is concerned, which we're able to do, and just having the camera rolling for pretty much anything and having to be spontaneous and try to be in the moment of these really, you know, horrible tragedies.
Did anything surprise you, anything eye-opening in this process as you went through and made it? There hardly can be a Rhode Islander out there who hasn't seen any of these segments.
Yeah, that's been the interesting thing for me is when people find out that I was involved with The Ripple Effect. They know instantly. Matter of fact, I was I swear, I was just at Navigant about 2 hours ago down in Warwick, and speaking to this woman, Linda, who we just got in conversation and we spoke about The Ripple Effect, and you know, she started talking, you know, very highly about it, and so to see kind of the impact it's had with people has been probably most surprising for me in terms of content that I captured. That might have been surprising. Surprising, no, but I would say difficult, yes, because it's not just the filming process. We had just a small, great team. You know, as I said, Dante producing, myself, David Zapp, Richard Kazarian, Mauro Colangelo, and it was really the small team that we would just, if it wasn't on production and documenting these cases, post-production. So you're constantly having to deal with this difficult content where it just, you know, you can't get away from it, and you spend months and months, and it really gives you a whole new perspective of yourself and really appreciating things you might overlook. You know, when you've spent a couple hours just filming a family who's lost somebody, and they're in tears and they're mourning, and it really hits you home as far as the reality of it. Because I think we take it for granted day by day, and these tragedies, because they don't affect us a lot of the time personally, but when you see it firsthand, man, it puts a whole different perspective on things.
Well, they certainly have had a significant impact, and as you mentioned, running into someone at the credit union talking about it as well, because that's really the goal, is to get more people talking about it, aware of it, and make people think about making those decisions. Are you hopeful this is going to have a strong impact?
I've known it's already had a strong impact. I have this kind of idea that I'm not sure if it's how many people you strike or if it's just that one person you strike that makes a difference. So what is that worth? Are we looking at quantity or are we looking at quality? And I know it's affected just one person, so I'm satisfied with that. I feel like that's enough. But in terms of the reach it's had, this may not be ripple effect, but this was for Beyond the Crash. Well, I was in Vegas last year doing a shoot, and I was at a dinner, and in conversation, speaking about Beyond the Crash, and people in Vegas that I was at a dinner with knew immediately because they had family who were troopers from Vegas, and to see this kind of go out on a national level, it's interesting,
Well, certainly continue to raise the awareness of impacted driving. The state police, after the Memorial Day weekend, released numbers as well of folks. It's just the continued awareness. And from, again, those different perspectives, from the first responder, from law enforcement, from the family's perspective. I mean, there's no stone you left unturned.
No, I don't think so. I think we got one more stone left unturned, but I'm waiting to hear if that stone will be turned. But no, it's pretty close. We've tapped into as many perspectives that I think you could get in such a in this example of drinking and driving drinking and driving. But for me, there was a lot of synchronicities that I found interesting because, my father, he was the chief of the Providence Fire Department. He retired in 1995. So I grew up in the fire stations. I grew up right over here down South Main and Branch Avenue. So to be back at this fire station that I remember fondly and having sleepovers there, when I was like 6, 7 years old, and then actually filming, the captain who my father helped train when he first came on. This has been an interesting roller coaster of a ride in terms of this project, for me at least.
Oh, it's Rhode Island. It's as you said, the ripple. It's almost like you can't not be impacted. You've got your personal story. You see these folks, and each of the segments that you see with people, they know folks in the community who see it as well. Well, I appreciate your taking the time to come in. We'll provide those links for the other individuals involved with the Ripple Effect. Again, the DOT's campaign to raise awareness for impaired driving. Eric Latek, I appreciate your taking the time to come in today. I'll let you go around the corner, and I'm going to wrap up here in the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center. 3 o'clock saw us up at the State House for GoLocal Live. Legislation today is before House Finance. Revised POSOX funding is going to be under consideration now in terms of how that is constructed. We talked with House Minority Leader Patricia Morgan. We talked with Representative Sherry Roberts. We also talked with Greg Mancini from Build RI. And then we just welcomed back here Ray Rickman, the former Deputy Secretary of State, former state representative, now with Stages of Freedom, and Eric Latek with the Ripple Effect. I want to thank the DOT, Dante Bellini, and RDW. We look forward to seeing you tomorrow at noontime as GoLocal takes the show on the road. We've got some great guests lined up for you. So as summer's around the corner, you've got lunchtime on your hands and you want to see some great content, local content, we'll be bringing it to you around the state. I'm GoLocal News Editor Kate Nagel.